There are bridges, bridges in the sky, they are shining in the sun. They are stone and steel and wood and wire, they can change two things to one. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. They are languages and letters, they are poetry and all. They are love and understanding, and they're better than a wall. There are canyons, they are yawning in the night. They are rank and bitter anger, and they are all devoid of light. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. They are fear and blind suspicion, they are apathy and pride. They are dark and soul foreboding, and they're oh so very wide. Let us build a bridge of music, and let us cross it with a song. Let us span another canyon, let us right another wrong. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. Oh, and if someone should ask us where we're off and bound today, we will tell them building bridges and be off and on our way. We will tell them
building bridges and be off and on our way. Thank you, Bill Staines, for letting us use that song on our program. You're watching Sunday on the Front Stoop. I am Jeff Beller. To my right is Susan Comont, and we have Dennis Carius on the line.
Hello, Dennis.
Hello, Dennis. How are you?
Good, Jeff. Hi, Susan.
Hello.
And we went to a wedding yesterday, and I was sitting next to a military man. He was a 30-year military man, and he was talking. We were talking about the HREM, and when we spoke about that HREM,
you gotta define it.
The HREM is the Human Renewable Energy Measure, and when I talked to him about that, he understood it very well. I said, when you join the Navy or the Army or the military, you get all your needs met. You get your education, food, and shelter. Your basic needs met, and then if you work harder in the service and you go educate yourself through the service, you then become a corporal or a sergeant or a lieutenant or a colonel or a general, and then you go better up and you get a bigger house.
Ladder you can climb.
Yeah, and the harder you're willing to work in the military, the
higher status.
The higher status you get, right. The better quality of life you have. And if you just choose to be a corporal and enjoy the enlistment status, that's great. You still get all your basic needs met, and you can always strive to get more. Well, he understood that quite well. I said, well, that's the way the HRM works.
Well, sort of.
Only you don't have to kill anybody.
Or take orders.
Right. You basically are born into a military. And the military.
No, you're born into an organization.
Well, I'm trying to compare it to the military. So, yeah, okay. I mean, I don't need to be contradicted. I'm trying to bring a point out. So the point I'm making is that the military, though, isn't to kill people. The new military that the HREM is, or the Human Renewable Energy Measure is, the military would work in cooperation for the world. And it would say, well, we need water over in that part of the world. So the military brings the desalination things or whatever they need to make water. Well, we need solar panels, so the military builds solar panels, and they put solar panels there. Well, we need cars that people can be efficient, so the military builds cars or grows food. But it does things in cooperation, not in competition, not to kill. And if everybody, if you, when you're born anywhere in the world, you are part of this big, huge military called humanity instead of military. We call it humanity. And there's a measurement with that humanity, and it's called the Human Renewable Energy Measurement, because we die. And that's what happens. And the next person comes into position through nature and through God and Son and whatever, if you want to be religious about it. So does that make any sense? Now you see why I tried to bring it to the military and not into an organization, because you convolute it. You're trying to talk about the military. We can't talk about a different thing. It is, in fact, the military, but the military is nature's military. And nature is a benevolent dictator, just like the military, but the military is not benevolent. Nature is benevolent, because it gave us a brain. And it says, if you step in front of your tank, you're going to die. But you got a brain, so you shouldn't step in front of a tank. So that's where I'm coming from. Does that make sense to you, Dennis?
Yes, it does. I'd like to talk later in the show about something with the military. The rate of suicide of our troops when they come home, it's very high. And I'd like to ask, why do you think these kids that are in their 20s come home and kill themselves? But we can wait till later on that.
No, we can't, because you brought it up now, and it's fresh in people's mind. And I think I have an answer for that.
Good. Why did so many of those come home and then come home with their family, and now they're going to church and all this stuff, and they're, they sit down with their families and they remember, all that they're told: thou shalt not kill, they should love thy neighbor, and then they think, oh, what did I do overseas? Oh my God.
Oh, well, it's very simple. It's very simple because it's called mixed emotions. And when you're taught not to kill people, because you really know better as a human being. Did you refresh your screen yet, by some chance?
Oh yes, you and Susan are on the screen.
Oh, good. So we're actually broadcasting. That's a good thing. Okay, now when you do something that you know is negative, because someone told you, like if I told you, Dennis, there are evil people over in that restaurant. Go over there and shoot and throw a bomb into that restaurant. And when the people come out of that restaurant, Dennis, you believe me because I'm telling you they're evil. Come out of that restaurant, and they come out, shoot them down. They're on fire. Don't let them live. Shoot them down. You would say, wait, I don't want to. You may be a smart guy and stuff, but that's pretty crazy. Why would I shoot people down just because you told me to? Or why would I shoot people down because someone on the television said, or someone on the radio said, those are evil people, you got to kill them? You'd be really crazy to do that, but that's exactly what we're doing overseas. We're sent over there and said, go shoot those people, and then when they come out of that building, shoot them down.
So you're saying once you leave this country, you can do whatever you want?
Because our government or some person who we thought was telling us the truth went ahead and told us to do that. And we would be crazy people to doing that. And we're just as crazy if it's overseas killing another human being as we are right in our own backyard. So I say that that's mixed emotions. There's a joke like that by watching your enemy drive off a cliff in your new Cadillac. It's like it's called mixed emotions.
Got rid of your enemy, but
you lost your new Cadillac. I mean, of course, I don't like the new Cadillac, but that's besides the point. But I'm saying that it's cognitive dissonance according to psychiatrists.
BMW.
Or whatever, and then or your Prius, and but it's mixed emotions, and that's why people start to commit suicide, because you can't bring somebody back alive once you've killed them. They're gone forever. That's part of nature. That's part of physics. Once a person dies, they don't come back. It just don't happen. Maybe if you believe it does, but I have never met anybody who came back alive, maybe in spirit, but not in physical sense. So once you can, and the older I get, the more I realize I walk around, and I think, oh, I knew that person, and then I realize they're dead now. And then I look at my phone book, oh, that person's no longer here. He's dead now, or she's dead now. And that person, they're in the hospital dying of cancer, and they'll be gone soon. And once you kill somebody, or once they die, they don't come back. And once you've been in the service as a 20-year-old and taught not to kill people, and you've wiped out maybe 5,000, 10,000 people, maimed a whole bunch of them, and killed a lot more women and children because you dropped a bomb on someone somewhere. And killing people in the service is that's not the only thing. I don't know if that computer's going to work now, but see if we can get that song up. Because this is Labor Day weekend. See if we can get that song to work. And I may have to play with it myself, but just because it went off for some reason or other. And you have to push that top button maybe to get it back on. So listen to the song.
My job makes me crazy, I'm always behind, even though I am not one to shirk. And some fuzzy folk singer repeats in my mind that my life should be more than my work. Well, I like the work that I do. I don't mind earning my pay, but there's so much to do when the workday is through. Bring back the 8-hour day. Say you work at a white-collar job. You get paid at a fixed monthly rate, but you come in for meetings a half hour early. You're working a full hour late. Then you sit for an hour in traffic with the rest of the overtime drones. There's a latchkey kid you must chase off the bed before you eat a cold supper alone. Oh, bring back the 8-hour day. When did we give it away? There's so much to do when the workday is through. Bring back the 8-hour day. There's a factory worker we know. Joe Hill called him Mr. Block. If the foreman forgot him, he'd work till he dropped and did never punch out on the clock. Now they lay off 10 workers a week. Some are working half-time with no frill. Mr. Block doesn't care. He's got money to spare. Let the rest of the world go to hell. Well, did you know that the workers in Flint went on strike to climb out of this hole, where half the town works 60 hours a week while the other half rots on the dole? What good is a double-time check when your town and your family is shot? We need some enjoyment, we want full employment, we will not be bullied or bought. We say,
Bring back the work hour day.
8-hour day. When did we give
Get away.
There's so much to do when the workday is through.
Bring back the 8-hour day.
How about a 5-hour day?
Or 1 hour day.
Stayed home. And we lived on that blue-collar pay. Our standard of living was decent and sweet, just as good as what I've got today. Now my wife has a good paying job. And me, well, I'm doing okay. But we're putting out 99 hours a week. Tell me who the hell's getting my pay.
Tell me.
Bring back the 8-hour day.
When did we
Give it away.
There's so much to do when the workday is through.
Bring back the 8-hour day.
They got cellular phones for your car. They got notebook PCs for your lap. If you crawl off to sleep, you stay close to your beeper. Now why do we stand for this crap? They tell you you're gonna compete. No, we're tired from footing the bill. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest and 8 hours for what we will.
Oh, bring back the 8-hour day.
In Chicago, in Haymarket Square, they gathered from shipyard, from mine, and from mill just to march in the sun and the air. They've been slaving from dawn until dusk, but not on the 1st of May. 'Cause you can't smell the flowers when you're working 12 hours. So they struck for an 8-hour day.
Oh,
Bring back that 8-hour day.
day.
Bring back the 5-day week. When did we give it away? How did it become an antique? I like the work that I do. I don't mind earning my pay, but there's so much to do when the work
Day is through.
Bring back the 8-hour day.
Who was that singer?
That is Charlie King, and Inside Out is the name of the
Album.
album.
Thank you, Charlie King.
Yes, and that was excellent.
And we heard that last night with, I think, a program on a folk program. We were listening to that, and I heard it, and I said, I gotta put that on our
Find
show
that,
today.
right.
And
I
we
took
looked for it, and we saw that. The point I want to bring about the 8-hour day is the 8-hour day was working fine 40 years ago, but because of technology now.
Well, the 8-hour day was a reaction to even more onerous hours. You know, they insisted, but now that it can be more than 8 hours, and then now it's slowly creeping back to the 12 and 15 hours that people commit to. As he said, you've got a couple of hours before the work day supposedly starts, hours afterward, and then the traffic to get
and
back
it's mainly
and forth.
paper pushing and has nothing to do with reality. But
I
I want to bring this out, though, that now he mentions that if you're making time and a half and double time, but there's people on the dole, in other words, on unemployment.
Right.
Why should we do that? Why doesn't people just
isn't
work 2 hours a day?
Isn't a job share, and why don't people, get better pay for the fewer hours, for real productive hours?
Right, and if you have to do paperwork, you can do it from home.
Well, that's true.
You don't need to spend a 2-hour trip going into the office to get a paycheck. I mean, this is pretty stupid. And because we can now do everything on a computer, which would save us. I mean, that's our technology. We don't have, and if people worked out of their house for an hour or two a day, they would save their commuting time. They can make their own lunches. They can have time with their children or their husband or wife or their mom.
I jotted down some of the lines, and one of them, so much to do when the workday is
through.
Right. Very, very true. Your workday isn't over when you're supposed your work for the economy is done. Your work continues.
I don't care what the what do they call the Republicans say, or what the
Democrats.
The Democrats say.
And the Republicans.
The Republicans and the Democrats. We have an election coming through between the Republicans and the Democrats. Democrats. Right. Did you ever hear the Democrats and the Republicans, Dennis?
Well, all I've heard, Jeff, was that it's no longer the left versus the right. That it's 99.9% of us, and then the upper 0.1%. Because both the left and the right, whether they used to be called Democrats or Republicans, would all be bought and paid for now. That's what I've heard.
Well, that's why they become the Republicans and the Democrats.
Republicans and the Democrats.
Democrats.
Now, I must say, I've got to give credit to certain human beings who are on some of those parties.
Well, let's not leave Charlie King's song behind.
Okay, we'll get back to Charlie King's song.
Well, let's complete it. I have a couple of more notes on it. And 99 hours a week, and he's saying that he and his wife put in 99 hours a week. Tell me, who the hell's getting my pay?
Right.
And it's a very good point, because all these extra hours, you're not getting paid for them. You're getting the same pay, but slowly the amount of time you're putting into the work is increasing and increasing very insidiously. It's almost like
slavery.
Yeah, well, it is that.
It's
But I'm thinking of the rate and the kind of way it keeps creeping along. You know, you may not know, or it just like they say, heating up a frog slowly.
right, like
The
climate change.
image.
It's slowly getting us
We
warmer.
don't.
It's slowly making us work more and more hours. And then, and of course, and they just had a thing that for the last 10 years, because of very heavy policing,
So we.
from very heavy policing, our crime rate and our homicide rate's been dropping. But this year, the homicide rate's gone up very high rates, and I won't go into percentages because if you had a 0% for one person and it went up to two people, that's 100% increase. So you really can't go the percentage rate. Like we had a friend of ours named John in Troy, and he was talking about the homicide rate in Troy went up. Well, it was only two people were killed, or one person killed in Troy, and went up to two. So you had 100% increase in the homicide rate. I'm getting off topic. Anyway, the point I'm making is that if you've noticed, about 3 years ago, there's been many cops on the street. And
It's been building over the last 10 years.
well, it was building up since, actually, since
Clinton.
I would say, Clinton, Bill Clinton's administration. He put a huge amount of cops on the street. I couldn't understand why. And the cops were always out there giving annoying tickets, you know, just stupid tickets. And the cops knew better, but they had to make their quotas. And it wasn't the cops' fault. They're good, you know, they're just people like you and I. And it was getting to a point where people really despised cops. And all of a sudden, recently, you've noticed signs out there, support your local police department, and the cops have slowly, it's conspicuously absent. Because I remember on a holiday weekend, I could count 10 cops on a 20-mile trip, you know, hiding out and ready to give you a ticket, or, you know, speed traps all over the place. That sort of subsided. Now, recently, yeah. So I think there's a movement afoot to make us join in with our military cops and work together with them, which I think is a good idea. But when I see someone who is recklessly driving on the streets and zooming by and cutting on in and out, I mean, I wish I was a cop at that point. But the reality is that the cops got a bad rap because they're killing people. Now, there was, from what I gathered, and I think I'm right on this number, there's 300,000 black people been killed in this, I think it's this country, 300,000 black people killed because of the way our police department and our economic systems work. And also that poorer people, when I say poor, I mean black and Hispanics, are pulled over for many more tickets than whites. Plus, they have because of the poverty stricken, not because of they're black or white, because of the stigma of poor. That's why they're pulled over. And when we talk about,
well, you mean that the police go into certain areas?
And they're stigmatized, right?
Right.
And I always hear those people won't want to work. Well, I'm sorry, someone on welfare is working quite hard to stay on welfare. And if you want to play the game, the people who are doing much more damage than anybody on welfare are the stock owners, the stockholders who make a fortune doing nothing. And they're the ones who create the inflation. The person who is collecting welfare at least puts the money back into the system and pays their landlord, who pays the taxes for schools. I mean, at least they do that, but the very wealthy pay nothing.
The money circulates, right? They got money galore, as the song says. Let the rest of the world go to hell.
Right. That's what your 1%ers do, or your 0.1%ers, or I don't know if it's 1%, but the very wealthy. And they don't give a damn about what happens to our planet as long as they're making money. But people on welfare, they do care what happens to their planet because they want to keep on staying on the system. They want to buy whatever they have to buy, and they want to enjoy life. That's an interesting thing. But the wealthy people don't care how much their whole goal is to make money upon money, because they lost track of what reality is, in my opinion. Someone like
that's interesting.
Go ahead.
Jeff, did anybody ever give you a share of any stock in oil companies?
To be honest, I own one share of ExxonMobil, but so do you, Dennis. Are you on retirement?
Oh, okay. So then now I also then.
Yes,
Yeah.
every one of us has shares in stocks, but we
Because
get,
of the pensions?
because of pensions and because of Social Security, that part of the stock market. And no one understands the stock market, but we as I say, normal human beings, the if you want to call them the 68% is, of course, there's another percentage that's poverty stricken that even doesn't even have a pension or has any stocks or any connection to our system other than welfare. Um, um, let me just see.
68%, you said.
Yes, 68%. 68%, and there's another small percentage, and then there's the 1%. But we are all part of the system, Dennis. That's why I say when you wake up in the morning, whether you believe it or not, you and I and everybody middle class in this country are killing people. And everybody in the Western Hemisphere, by the way, in France and Germany, we are killing people because we are part of the economic system. And I know you don't want to hear this, Dennis, and most people don't want to hear it, but we are literally killing people. And when we drop a drone in the eastern part of the world, be it or Africa or Afghanistan or the Golden Heights, and we drop a drone there, and a piece of plate glass comes down and cuts a kid in half. And they still live, by the way. They're just cut in half, scarred for life. And their parents see that. And they're a little religious, a little more fanatical than they call us infidels. And they're and in my opinion, they're right to call us infidels because we're killing people to get their natural resources. We call it different things like freedom, or we call it different things like democracy, or we call it things like religion. But it's not the case. Every Muslim I've ever met was very nice human beings. They're just like you and I. They don't want to kill each other. And there's nothing. And the stocks, you're right. Stocks have a huge thing in that. But when I look at my one share and I get from ExxonMobil, I see that the CEO of that company makes more than some countries have for their gross domestic product in currency and money. Now, where should one human being make that? And then you see nuns who own stocks, who were given stocks because of religious beliefs of other people, and they don't want ExxonMobil to do the stuff they're doing. So, and then we have people, but we're killing people in this country just as well with our police force and our rule of law. Rule of law is different than man's law is different than nature's law. Nature's law is very simple, that when you hit a certain age, you're going to die. That's nature's law. You need a certain amount of food to eat, or you're going to die. That's nature's law. You need fresh water to drink, or you're going to die. That's nature's law. You need shelter, otherwise you'll freeze, or you'll get too hot, or you'll be bitten by animals, mosquitoes, or other people. That's nature's law. You need shelter. You can measure these things in energy units, and that's why we're doing these programming called the Human Renewable Energy Measure.
I brought thoughts of cannibalism when you said bitten by other people.
Bitten, yeah. I mean, in some parts of the world, I guess that would be
that
okay.
That is not a possibility.
I guess that's the only part of the world where I would imagine that.
Didn't mean to interrupt you.
But anyway, there's
the
all
Human
kinds
Renewable Energy Measure, and I mean, what I'm hearing is that we need to change the goal, of our economics from competition to collaboration. If you're competing, you're going to end up joining a military. Some people will. A large part of our population does, and an even larger portion of our taxes go to supporting the military. They say that even maybe more than half is dedicated to supporting the military in every way that it needs supporting, and the goal of military is defending a country, but the defense of the country is an aggression
it's not defense, it's aggression.
Yes, it's to dominate resources in the name of the economics, because the economics, is the bottom line for the survival of a nation, at least in our modern equation. But what if it was a military, as you call it, that is not got goals of domination, but has goals of providing all the basic needs worldwide, basic needs, not our wants, but our basic needs worldwide. And that's what we're talking about with the Human Renewable Energy Measure. It's a change in the way that the goals of economics are being enacted right now. And we know how to organize, and that's why we're making the analogy to the military. We know how to organize so that basic needs are met as they are in the military. We know, that it's not an expense. That's not the most expensive thing that the military does, providing the basic needs for the humans that the people.
They don't supply them now.
Well, they
bring in Coca-Cola machines.
No, I'm saying for the people in the military who
Oh,
are
yes, okay.
working
Got it.
for the military, it is not the most expensive thing that they do, providing for the people who are working for the military. The most expensive things they do are building the armaments, the planes, the bombs, all these
technology
things.
To run drones
extremely expensive. Only because our economics makes it so. We have a lot of materials and technology, that is artificially made expensive. But as with everything else, because the economics, it always is looking for the profit and how much more profit it can make. But I want to go back to the song. He says in the song, Charlie King in his song "Bring Back the 8-Hour Day," you got to compete. 8 hours for work, 8 hours for rest, 8 hours for what we will. What happened to that? And maybe not 8 hours. Maybe it should be less than 8 hours.
Well, because of technology, the growth of technology and the ability to use technology to draw natural resources should afford everybody maybe a 1 or a 2 hour day. And I'm going to go back to the military again. Dennis, we know that about 50 some odd, 58% is in our work life to pay our taxes goes to military, right?
Yes, right.
Now, supposing everybody in the world, we take away the boundaries. We no longer have Canadian boundaries to U.S. boundaries, or Mexican boundaries to U.S. boundaries, or Serbian boundaries, or boundaries for all the boundaries in the world are taken out. No, we don't need boundaries, right? The only reason, and they're not nature's boundaries, they're man's boundaries. We sort of use the boundaries to, like a river, to define the boundaries. So we're using a natural resource on nature's lines, like a river or a mountain range or something, to define the boundaries. But the boundaries are only man-made. They're not nature-made. And we just say that's going to be our property and not, belongs to the United States at that point where the Hudson hits the Hudson hits that river or whatever river where we go. It's all boundaries, but they're man's boundaries. We're in one planet. If I poison Mexico, then we're going to get the pollution of the air that they're poisoning here.
Right, we get pollution from Canada. Canada gets our pollution. Yeah, all this stuff. This has no sense of boundaries.
If I create, if there's a drought going on because of whatever reason in California, the rain falls somewhere else on this planet. Mm-hmm. So there's no real boundaries according to nature.
Not for pollution, not for ideas either, which is a nice thing. That's why it's important that people speak their minds and not just take for granted that what other people are saying to them, even if it's over a very official type of
official
system like radio, TV, internet. You
Control.
must continue to use your own mind and thinking processes, your experience, draw from your experience and what you know to be true, and you know.
By the way, I want to
See where I'm going.
I keep on forgetting to do this. You're listening to Bridges Programming. This is Sunday on the Front Stoop, the longest stoop in the world. You can contact us on email or you can join our show. And I still eventually have to learn how to do this, but there's a way people can join our show through Skype.
We're getting there. Over the winter, we're going to get all that
we're
figured out.
We finally got our video up and running, and you'll see the hrem.org on your screen now, the renewable energy measurement. And Renew the Earth, and Renew the Earth is on there, renewtheearth.org. And on Renew the Earth, there's a free download of the book you see.
Right here.
And that book is Illyria's World about climate change and a robot.
Illyria and her friend, the robot.
And then we also have, of course, Bridges Programming, which is .com.
And on also on renewtheearth.org under the blog, you can read Earthlings letters to your children or grandchildren.
Every month we have a new letter to.
Yes.
And what's the one about?
Approximately every month.
What's the one about this month you wrote up?
Noticing, going out in nature and noticing things. So that's the beginning of a child believing their own perceptions, is that they aren't told what to look at or told what to be interested in, that they're just going and looking around and experiencing. And in nature, that's the when you walk, around a nature trail or in a park or even in your backyard where there's trees and creatures still without laws, etc., like we have in 8-hour days.
It's not 8, it's 12 hours.
Work days. These creatures have their own patterns and motives and goals. And I think that when a very young child, it's important for them to observe nature and make up their own minds what they think is going on from the very beginning, so that when they're told what's going on later, they can compare that with their real life experiences and start to become a real thinker.
Well, I want to ask Dennis a question. Dennis, supposing you or I are driving along, right?
Right.
And I point out something red to you, and I said, Dennis, look at that red cow. And you would look at me and say, that's not a cow, that's a barn. And then I would look at you and say, Dennis, how do you know that's a barn? What would be your answer to me?
Well, maybe after standing there and it doesn't move for minutes or hours or days, here's a good answer.
Well, rather than stand there, I asked that same question of my granddaughter, who was 6 years old at the time, maybe 7. And we were driving along, and I'm always pointing to stuff. Said, look at that red cow. And she said, no, Grandpa, that's a red barn. And I said, how do you know that? And she said, because we all agree that that's a red barn. Because we all agree in cooperation that we agree that that's a red barn. So how do we know killing people is wrong?
Because we all agree.
Because we all agree that killing people are wrong.
Right.
How do we know? How do we know that the climate is changing? That is an assumption that we all agree.
Now, when we're working too many hours.
We all agree we're working too many hours. This is an assumption that we can agree upon as a species. Now,
and she loves that game. She used to ask you to do that game.
Yes,
when you're driving. She just delighted her so
ask
much.
Anybody when you go out today, or you and your wife, and ask your wife a question, and if she says to you, "Oh, the sky is blue," how do you know the sky is blue? because we all agree the sky is blue. We agree as a species.
Oh, wow.
Or the temperature. With there an agreement made between the species, then and if we go against our agreement, it's either a lie or it's dangerous. And if you stand in front of a truck, you most probably will die. How do we know that? Because we've experienced that.
You're saying that these agreements are even more, well, it was significant than laws that we make.
Of course, an agreement, not the law.
And they also don't have boundaries. They
Right.
don't have national boundaries. Agreements of the kind that we're talking about.
On nature's agreements.
Well, they're human agreements.
Human agreements based on nature.
On reality.
On reality, like if I told you today it's going to snow today, you know that it's probably going to be 70 or 80 degrees. It can't possibly snow. How do we know that? Because we agree that at this temperature it can't snow. So that's
personal experience.
It's experience of humanity. Now a squirrel doesn't know, I don't think, what the temperature is. He knows that it's just comfortable to get his food stored for the cold times. That's intuitive. They don't have the brain, I don't think, that we have. A similar brain, but not the ability to reason. And they don't have. I don't think they commit suicide because they kill their friends. I don't think that's the case.
Well, they don't,
I don't think
they don't kill their friends.
Well, I'm just saying that
other squirrels.
I don't think that our species. I think our species is a very unique species, and whether you believe in religion, this is Sunday on the Front Stoop, or you believe in nature, cognitive dissonance that you brought out, that when you joined the military and you came back out of tour, you commit suicide. And that's because you know that you've done things that
you can't resolve.
Can never be replaced. You can't change that.
Well, you can't
bring back the
resolve
damage you've done.
Them in your mind because you've been taught one thing and you've been told to do something else.
And like John McCain, he was awarded medals for killing people, and he was a part of the military who he was captured, and he was a prisoner of war, and we award people for fighting in battles, and we give them money, we give them prestige, we give them senatorships or presidencies or government. This is a really insane thing we do because of our man's law, not because of nature's law or God's law.
Well, I would say too that we're born with a moral center that tells us that we don't. It's not a human, natural human tendency to kill each other. So I think you're right away. You don't have to be taught that. I don't believe.
So let's
easily contest that and discuss that with me, endlessly. But my gut feeling is that humans are not born
to kill
each other,
and or kill animals for no reason. I have no problem with someone hunting for food, but I do have a problem with somebody hunting for sport. I mean, why would you want to kill another species or sport for no reason? I have no problem with killing an animal for sustenance, but I do, and there's people who do have that problem. They're vegetarians. They believe that why like Dennis, you can't see me killing a little white rabbit.
Well, rabbit is a vegetarian. Rabbits don't kill any animals.
Yeah, but
our technology is moving forward right now, because if you go over to India, where people, Buddhists, they are vegetarians. But if you go into McDonald's over there or Burger King, and those hot dogs and hamburgers taste just as good as they do over here, but they're vegetarian, even though they look just like our hot dogs and hamburgers. So the technology.
I'm sorry, Dennis. I have tasted vegetarian hot dogs recently. And they are pretty, and so did you. And they were pretty bad, man. You remember those hot dogs we had?
Oh, I think I overcooked them, though.
Remember those hot dogs we had?
No, but maybe somebody overcooked them.
I think I did.
They were pretty rough, man.
Oh,
they were pretty rough. I don't think I ever.
I'm never gonna live this down.
That was pretty bad. But the
other. Susan, thank you though for making those.
My
because really,
were good.
Jeff, I still think even if they taste a little worse than that animal that you killed, I still think that I'm happier having that than having that cat or dog that I took, all my life, and now somebody kills it. That's
It
not
could have
good.
been your cousin in a former life too.
Oh my goodness. Another
Imagine
song.
in a former life if a hot dog was your cousin.
Right. We do a program with sometimes we play that song from Alien Folklife called Hot Dog Heaven. But I'm suggesting that rabbit that eats vegetables, then the eagle comes down and eats the rabbit. Now I think that's part of natural law, not man's law, natural law. So and in looking at natural law, Dennis, I think that natural law allows me to not to kill for no reason, but to kill because that's a good form of my sustenance. That's otherwise, and I can tell you for a fact that we have a friend of ours we do programming with, and they decided not to allow hunting on their preserve. Well, they have a tremendous problem with deer ticks and with overpopulation of deer who are dying in the weather.
Right.
And so natural hunting for deer.
Well, if there was a natural predator in their sanctuary,
but there
isn't. Resolve that. Yeah, the coyotes or.
But they don't have that, so they keep on getting Lyme disease. They can't even walk in their woods because of the amount of deer ticks they have there. So there may be something else afoot here that maybe we should. There's a balance of, like I like vegetables, and we have to eat vegetables. We can't eat just plain meat, and we have to have protein. We can't have just. We just can't have just vegetables. We need protein, and vice versa. You can't have just protein without vegetables. So in our species, we need a balance. And all of humanity and all of nature and all of nature's laws, not man's laws, requires balance. But I don't believe that we have to kill people, because that's the economic system, which has no basis on physical needs or nature.
You mean food needs and shelter needs.
Now, to make money, I think if we worked with a cooperation with the world society instead of in competition. Now, I heard our president, who you mentioned earlier, President Obama, said he was going to bring back the troops when he got elected, and then he postponed it to 14. Now he postponed it till after his election to bring back the troops. So he didn't quite tell us the truth as far as we know, and it's pretty obvious. However, supposing our military,
it's called biding for time,
and we're still
everybody
doing
does that.
the same old, but supposing,
even the president,
even us, we're saying, well, we let you call in as soon as we learn how to do that, and we're learning about that. And
we are,
and we have physical restrictions. It's our brain which is giving us physical restrictions.
Well, also the amount of time that
and the amount of time, which is very important.
Yeah.
Now I want to get back to
8 hours for whatever you will.
I just want to get back to this military.
Who has that anymore?
Let's get back to the point of the program. Can we just, and then this is also John Lennon's Imagine, supposing we decided that every human being should work about an hour a day, maybe more or less, depends, for their basic needs met, and we work in cooperation. And to do this, we said, okay, everybody in the world who's born, the 7 billion people on the planet, will always have to work 1 hour. Nobody would be unemployed. Some people who want more would have to work more, just like the military. So we're going to say that everybody in the human race is now in the military. Can you imagine? We're all being in the military, but the military has a different goal. The goal of the military is to make sure all of humanity has their basic needs met no matter what for 1 hour.
Right, and we could organize that for sure.
That's easy enough to organize, just like a big military, a worldwide military.
We wouldn't have populations looking for another country to live in.
And if there's a problem, we all work together, and we stop stigmatizing blacks from Asians, from whites, from Jews, from Christians, from Muslims. We're all one human race, and we all work together in cooperation. Now, I brought up the president a few minutes ago, because the president said about a month or two ago, He said that we all have to work in cooperation. Then on the next breath, he said we have to be educated enough so we're in competition.
Yeah.
That was two. That's another.
That's cognitive
That's
dissonance.
cognitive dissonance. Either you're going to be in cooperation or you're going to fight with one another. When I
And
talk,
educating doesn't mean you become more competitive with each other. It just means that you enhance each other's
right,
knowledge.
you're educated. It doesn't mean.
You're
I mean, just because you have a
enhancing your
PhD,
own knowledge, and then hopefully, when you have conversation with other people,
just because you have a
you can learn
PhD
even more.
doesn't make you smarter. It makes you somebody who is educated with a PhD, a piece of paper. It doesn't make you smarter.
There's a certain technique for educating people who do get those kind of degrees. And as I said, when I was trying to get parents or grandparents interested in the Renew the Earth website, under the blog there, the Earthling letters that are, every month or close to a month, the new one is posted. And the reason I was trying to get people interested in that is because the way that someone is educated also makes a frame around their type of education that limits them, and either by specializing them so much that it just keeps making a smaller and smaller spirals toward that specialization, and doesn't include other disciplines around them, which happens most of the time in our educational institutions right now. Specialization is valued over a more general knowledge that includes, nobody can know everything, but there's so much to be learned from every possible avenues. It's hard to express this, but to be a specialized person and have a PhD in that doesn't mean that you really are seeing things in a more an overall view, a view that would be useful for the general populations of the world. It's a different kind of education. That's why I'm trying to say that children should be allowed to open their minds as much as possible to all kinds of ways of thinking, so that they're starting with the widest possible view. And because the narrowing of that view occurs very quickly in their lives, the first time they start watching TV, cartoons or whatever, it's getting narrowed because of the view of whoever invented the children's programming. They're trying to get a certain point into the brains of these very young children. Nature allows the expansion of a young mind, without preconception, without someone telling them about what they're seeing, without them first asking a question and then trying to, if that individual is patient, try to answer with as broad a answer as they're capable of. You don't want to narrow young minds. You want, to broaden what they're.
just like you.
Yes.
How much is? Look at that red. Look at that big red cow, and she understands that it's a big red barn, and that's because we agree. By the way, you mentioned PhD, Dennis. Do you hold a PhD?
I do not. No, I do not have a PhD.
Supposing I tell you, if I tell you what PhD means to us, it means please help donate. So if someone
they're
donates,
always looking for research grants.
If somebody wants to donate to Renew the Earth, it's a nonprofit organization, we'll send you a PhD button. Please help donate button. And that's what that PhD is. So everybody I know can have a PhD if they choose. How's that? And a matter of fact, just for doing the please help donate.
Good, I'm writing that down.
And add a donut to that.
And we can, and we'll send you a donut to the donate too. We give you a free donut in one of the donut shops or something. So please help donate, depending upon the size of the donation. And then we also give out this book that you see on your screen now, which is a free download if you'd like to download that. And
from the renewtheearth.org website.
Illyria's World Out. It's a little girl who said everybody agrees, and she walks around with a 7-foot-tall robot that discusses stuff with her.
About what's happening with our
With
climate.
our climate,
Right.
and she says, well, people agree upon that. And that's why we're having a climate change problem, because most people
Agree that
upon
there's a
that.
problem.
And you don't have to be a PhD to know that. You can just realize that
We all have our personal
that our
experiences.
climate
of
is
it, right?
changing right in front of our eyes. Now, for whatever reason, that's another story. Then that's subjective. So that's what we're doing
Or
now.
scientific,
So,
depending on your science.
So I want you to look on your screen and check out the book, Illyria's World, and that's a free download. If you want to download it, Dennis, you could do that. You could download on a PDF right now if you want to, and right after the program's over. Just go online and download it. And it's only about 20 pages. And then there's something called Buckminster Fuller wrote, or Bucky they call him, called Operating Manual for Spaceship Earth. You can get a free download on that, and that's only
a PDF online.
that's a PDF. It's only 61 pages.
Great introduction to his thoughts.
Great thinking process. Of course, we have Zeitgeist Moving Forward, which is a great another free thing you can see online. And then, of course, Money as Debt, to know where money comes from.
Get a sense of what's going on with economics, and that's essentially what we're talking about is a system of economics that is not serving humanity. Point in history, it's serving a very small
portion of people.
Percentage of our human population at the expense of the rest of it, which needs balance needs to be obtained, and we feel that the Human Renewable Energy Measure is a way toward that.
Wow,
Hey.
You're both doing great work.
Well, so are you, Dennis.
Yes, Dennis.
We're going to send, we all have PhDs because we're donating our time to helping humanity. So therefore, we all have our PhDs. And I don't think that, and I'd love to get somebody with a PhD to talk about the HRM, the Human Renewable Energy Measure. That can be measured because it's 80 years of life, certain amount of energy units for food, certain amount of energy units for water, and a certain amount of energy units for shelter. That can easily be calculated through a good mathematician.
Remember, you can't smell the flowers if you're working 12 hours. And thank you, Charlie King, for your
can't smell the flowers if you're working 12 hours.
Bring back the
I want to
8-hour
thank
day.
you all.
I say bring back the 3 to 5 hour day at this point.
Yep, we can do it.
But,
Thank you very much, Dennis. We're going out now.
and watch out for those pelicans and those demon crabs.
Watch out for the demon crabs and the pelicans.
Neighbors out of work because they closed the factory. You try to stretch your paycheck, but it's never quite enough. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone. Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.
Thank you for joining us
Fossil
on
fuel
Sunday on the
affects our
Front
lives
Stoop.
like ripples on a lake. Cars and farms and factories and trucks. Supplies go down and prices soar, our futures are at stake. And when it's gone, it won't come back and we'll be out of luck. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy. We can get our energy from corn and grass and trees.
Even trash converts to biofuels.
Break loose from the stranglehold of oil companies. Renewables can fuel the world. We're here to spread the news. Oh, energy, energy. It all comes down to energy. You wonder where the money's gone? Well, here's some fuel for thought. It all comes down to energy.